Have you ever felt that your constant pursuit of women is never quite yielding the desired results, no matter how hard you try? What if I told you that pursuing women isn't the best approach to attract and keep their attention? Do you ever wonder yourself, what am I doing wrong? What if it has to do with becoming the kind of man that draws people to you? I realize that this may seem like cliched advice, but stay with me because I'm going to give you 7 Stoic strategies today that will completely change the way you interact with people and make them want you, not because you're chasing them, but because you're living your life with confidence, authenticity, and purpose. But before we dive in, I need you to do 2 things. First, hit that like button to let me know you're ready to take your dating life to the next level. Second, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because this kind of content is going to change the way you see yourself and your relationships. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. And finally, stick around for the full video, because these 7 strategies will completely transform your love life, and you'll want to hear every single one. Alright, let's begin. Furthermore, this goes beyond theory. Based on the ancient wisdom of the Stoics, this is wise counsel. These same strategies enabled some of the most strong and confident men in history. You'll learn how to stop chasing and start attracting. Are you prepared? And don't chase, let her come to you. Let me tell you about a man named Ethan. Ethan had always been the kind of guy who was constantly chasing women, thinking that he could win anyone over if he just worked hard enough, gave them enough compliments, or bought them the right gifts. But it seemed like the women he was interested in were never able to get close to him. One evening, after yet another failed attempt to impress a girl, Ethan sat down at a coffee shop and gave it some consideration. Stop pursuing and focus on becoming the best version of yourself. Doesn't she need to know I care? He reasoned. Doesn't she need to see how much work I'm putting into this? But that night, Ethan decided to give up. Ethan quit texting women first, stopped obsessively dissecting every conversation, and started to have faith that someone would eventually see him for who he truly was and approach him. He started working on himself, his profession, his fitness, his passions, instead of focusing all of his attention on pleasing other people. Amazingly, a few months later, Ethan and Leah met at a party thrown by a mutual acquaintance. This time he was comfortable and secure in who he was, not yearning for her attention or attempting to impress her. They discussed their experiences, laughed, and told each other stories. He was just being himself. There was no strain on him. Subsequently, Leah became interested in him, fascinated and drawn to him. She came to Ethan. He didn't need to seek her out, because women are attracted to guys who don't pursue them. They know that when a man isn't desperate, he is confident, and confidence is alluring. Although it doesn't imply that you don't care about her, it does indicate that you respect yourself enough to refrain from going out of your way to win her approval. So consider this. Have you ever made an excessive effort to get someone's attention? What was the sensation? Have you ever been anxious or at ease? Now picture a moment when you were attracted to someone without having to try, when you were sure of yourself. What is your favorite version of yourself? Consider that and observe how it affects how you handle relationships in the future. Maybe it was a crush that didn't reciprocate your sentiments, or a relationship that didn't work out. What impact did that have on the dynamic? Or the power of self-control? Master yourself first. At a party or social gathering, you notice her across the room, and for some reason, you click with her right away. Whether it's the sparkle in her eyes or the way she laughs, you can already picture the conversation. How she would laugh at your jokes, and how she might be the person you've been waiting for, yet your heart is racing and you want to approach her so badly. But something happens at that same moment. You pause, inhale deeply, and choose to stay put instead of rushing in. You convince yourself that you don't need to impress anyone, least of all her, because you are already adequate. The ability to control oneself is the first skill that Stoicism teaches us. The Stoics were skilled at controlling their ideas, emotions, and impulses. They recognized that true power comes from inside. They found strength in controlling themselves rather than in seeking praise from others. What if I told you that you approached it in a desperate manner, rather than not working hard enough? and that's why you didn't receive the desired result? Consider a period when you pursued someone or something, be it a romantic partner, a job promotion, or something else entirely. Have you ever had the impression that you were pursuing an impossible goal? Despite your best efforts, you never appeared to receive the desired answer. True self-control means that you don't need anyone to validate your value or approve of who you are. You're enough, with or without her. Chasing someone, be it a lady or a goal, and claiming, "I need this to feel good about myself," is an example of a lack of self-control. When you are grounded, composed, and confident in your identity, women are drawn to your magnetic energy. Recall a moment when you were completely comfortable with who you were, maybe doing something you enjoy, or being truly present and unconcerned with what other people thought. The force that draws attention, especially from women, is the power of self-control. When you are in control of yourself, you attract instead of chasing. Now consider the last time you were genuinely content without anything from other people. When you weren't concerned with what other people thought, you were happy doing what you wanted to do. Embrace indifference, let go of the outcome. Has a woman's affection for you ever caused you to get fixated on her? Maybe you reached out to her first and anxiously awaited her reply. Or maybe you carefully read her message, attempting to understand what it meant. You're wondering, is she interested in me? Does she want to? Am I making a mistake? I get it. Even if everything seems to be going according to plan, you're not getting the answer you were looking for. You seem to be treading carefully out of concern that any slip-up will make her leave. Isn't that a frustrating feeling? Marcus, the Roman emperor, had the same event, and I'll tell you about it. Like you and me, he struggled in relationships before he became the powerful leader we know today. It never seemed to be enough. Even though he would try everything to win a woman's love, dressing well, saying the right things, even rearranging his schedule to fit hers, he seemed to be after her all the time in an attempt to get her acceptance. When Marcus came to the realization, one day, that he couldn't control her feelings, and that no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't win her approval, everything changed. He embraced a core tenet of Stoicism: disregard for the outcome. He stopped caring about whether a lady liked him after he came to the realization that he was solely in charge of his own behavior, reactions, and attitude. The more he let go of the urge to control the outcome, the more relaxed and confident he became, and he noticed an incredible phenomenon. Women were drawn to him, not because he was chasing them, but because he was living his life with meaning and not dependent on the outcome. When you were just going about your life, doing what you loved, hanging out with friends, or engaging in your hobbies, do you recall how simple it was to connect with people? That's because you were being authentic and not pursuing anyone. I want you to now recall a moment when you were genuinely unafraid of being rejected. You may free yourself from stress and anxiety, regain your control, and begin to appreciate the present. When you stop worrying about whether other people like you, women take note of your composed assurance. In relationships, this idea of not caring about the result works incredibly well. When was the last time you were able to enjoy someone's company without always worrying about their thoughts? How much more enjoyable was it than when you were obsessed with every little detail? You start to feel more at ease with yourself when you accept indifference. And that's the exact type of vibe that draws women. This does not imply that you are indifferent. Rather, it indicates that you value yourself enough to not let the feelings of others to control your enjoyment. 4. Develop emotional resilience. Bounce back stronger. I have a story to tell you about a man who went through this very kind of suffering. Have you ever experienced heartbreak? Have you ever experienced that kind of overwhelming, high-intensity pain where everything seems suddenly so heavy? We should call him Alex. Alex believed they were meant to be together and was incredibly in love. Although he believed their link was indestructible, the relationship terminated, as is frequently the case. He was left with nothing but sorrow when she left. What did I do wrong? He asked himself repeatedly. What made her stop loving me? Alex couldn't get out of bed for days. His life had come apart, and he didn't know how to put it back together. Alex remembered his grandfather telling him, "The pain you feel now will not last forever." But then something remarkable happened. Pain can be a teacher and a source of strength if you let it. Alex made the decision to accept the pain rather than let it control him. He started writing in his journal to express his sorrow rather than bury it. He went for long walks in the park, reflecting on what had gone wrong, but more importantly, what he could learn from it. And slowly he began to heal, putting an end to his quest for someone else to fix him and concentrating on fixing himself. The twist is that Alex became more attractive as his emotional resilience grew, not because he was trying to impress people, but rather because he had learned to accept his own fragility. My friend, women find him so attractive since he wasn't afraid to feel or be human. Learning to cope with pain and come out stronger is the aim of emotional resilience. Think of a period of your life when you were upset, such a breakup or a romantic letdown. What was your reaction to the encounter? Did you overcome the suffering? Or did you let it get the better of you? Every traumatic event presents an opportunity for growth. And when you develop emotional resilience, you become a person who is ready for everything life may throw at you and isn't afraid to face the future. I want you to take a moment to reflect on the lessons you have learned from your prior heartbreaks and how they have influenced who you are now. How about you? Have you ever gone through a heartbreak that felt like it would never end? How did you become better? I'd be interested in hearing about it. And I'm sure that others can relate to your experience if you share it in the comment section. 5. Cultivate a life of purpose. Be the man she wants you to be. Imagine yourself in a crowded room with everyone's attention, but not because you're trying to impress them, but because you have a clear vision and know exactly what you want out of life. Being so focused on your mission that you're too busy pursuing your goals to notice the looks. Let me introduce you to James, a man who had always been the follower, who worked a boring 9-to-5 job, watched TV to pass the time, and had no real sense of purpose in life. He was always trying to fit in and impress people with things that didn't really matter to him. His relationships always seemed to be lacking something, and he felt as though he was only acting and not really living his life. When James encountered a woman who was different from the others, everything changed. She appeared to have it all together and was confident and resolute. Although he was drawn to her, he soon saw that he lacked her confidence and sense of direction. She would often talk about her love for her job, her goals, and the issues she championed, and James realized that he had to do more than just be there to be of any help to her or to anyone, really. James no longer wanted to just drift through life, so he decided to cultivate a life of meaning. He began setting goals on all fronts, including emotional, professional, and personal. He had a feeling of purpose and worked on projects that were meaningful to him. He found a cause he was enthusiastic about and started to dedicate his time to it. He gradually gained confidence, concentration, and excitement for his life. An incredible thing occurred as James focused on his own life's purpose. The woman he admired started to view him in a new light. He was no longer just another man trying to get her attention. Instead, she saw him as a determined, aspirational man who knew exactly who he was. She became more interested in him as a result of this. Women are attracted to individuals who are clear about their goals and have a clear vision for their lives. They do not want someone who is merely waiting for things to happen. You see, you become magnetic when you have a purposeful life. You're too busy living your own truth to look for other people's acceptance. Think back to a time when you felt completely alive, such as when you were following a dream or working on a project you were passionate about. What emotions did that energy evoke in you? And how did it affect how you were seen by others? Consider your passions and the things that provide you with a sense of direction in life. It's never too late to start, so don't worry if you haven't found it yet. People will start to see you differently if you start today, and you will become someone who attracts others by being true to who you are. Tell me about your current pursuits, be they career, personal, or life objectives, and let's support one another in leading purposeful, passionate lives. 6. Be emotionally available. Open up to create connection. Let's talk about feelings for a moment. Let me tell you a story about Jack, a man who learned the importance of being emotionally available and how it transformed his romantic life. Many men find it hard to open up. Jack had always been a tough, reserved man who believed that men shouldn't be emotional, and that displaying emotion was a sign of weakness. because he felt that no one could hurt him if he didn't display weakness. He would always hide his emotions behind a facade of assurance. However, he immediately clicked with Sarah after they met. Jack was drawn to her because she was open, friendly, and warm. The issue was that even though he loved Sarah, he was unable to let her in. Jack would evade, avoid, or shift the subject whenever she attempted to discuss her feelings or delve further. The relationship felt great on the surface, but Sarah saw the emotional wall between them and it wasn't real. Sarah said to Jack at one point, "I want to connect with you, but I can't do that if you won't share yourself with me. I care about you, but I can't keep pretending everything is fine if you can't let me in." That acted as a wake-up call for Jack, who understood that if he didn't open himself, he would lose Sarah. He stood back and examined his own anxieties, wondering what he was concealing and why he was so scared to express his emotions. It was time for Jack to realize that being emotionally open was about connecting, showing trust and letting the relationship grow, not about being weak. After that, Jack made an effort to be more open, talking about his past, his anxieties, his aspirations for the future, and yes, even his insecurities. When he did, Sarah opened up too, and their relationship flourished as they shared more intimate moments and stronger bonds. Jack became someone Sarah could trust, rely on, and connect with deeply by being honest and vulnerable. Think of a period of time when you were emotionally distant. What impact did it have on your relationships? Now think of a moment when you were open and vulnerable with someone. What was the impact of that? You provide space for the other person to open out when you are emotionally available. Relationships and trust are developed in this way. Please leave your views in the comments section below if Jack's story speaks to you. What fears or misconceptions about vulnerability do you struggle with that keep you from being vulnerable? 7. Keep your independence and maintain your sense of self. Let me present to you Ryan, a man who learned the hard way that maintaining one's independence is necessary for a successful relationship. Everything else will fall into place if I make her happy. Ryan had always been a people pleaser who aimed to win over everyone, particularly his fiancée Mia. He was deeply in love with her, but at some point he lost himself and began to think about her constantly, give in to her demands and prioritize her wants over his own. He disregarded his interests, his friends, and even his own aspirations. But now Mia was noticing. She was flattered by Ryan's attention at first, but she quickly started to feel constrained and missed the self-reliant, driven Ryan who had a life apart from her. Now that Ryan prioritized her and was always available, it seemed as if he had lost his identity without her. Mia once sat Ryan down and said to him, "I don't want to be the only thing in your life. I need you to have your own life. I want you to be the man I fell in love with, the man who had his own passions, his own goals, and his own friends." Ryan realized that Mia was correct. He had lost himself in the relationship, even though it hurt. He started to focus on his profession, pick up his interests, and renew his old friendships. And what do you know? As Ryan started to work harder on his own life, Mia saw change. He became more attractive, not because he was attempting to get her acceptance, but because he was happy, independent, and living a complete life. You bring your best self to the table, and don't depend on the other person to complete you, since relationships work best when both parties are complete and autonomous. Ryan found that you place too much emphasis on the other person to fill the hole in a relationship when you lose your sense of self. Have you ever been in a relationship where you felt like you were losing yourself to the other person? Which passions or interests did you overlook? Now think of the times you were totally self-sufficient, doing what you enjoyed and feeling secure in your own skin. How has the dynamic changed by that? If you've ever felt that you were losing yourself in a relationship, please share your experience and how you were able to regain your independence in the comments section below. Conclusion. Now I understand that these 7 Stoic strategies may seem simple, but trust me when I say that they work really well. When you stop chasing women and start focusing on yourself, you become the kind of man that women want to be with. Remember that the goal is to become the best version of yourself, not to try harder. Once you gain self-discipline, embrace indifference to results, focus on virtue, and learn to let go of what you cannot control, you will start drawing the relationships you have always wanted. Therefore, if you want to quit chasing and start attracting, start utilizing these Stoic strategies. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.